If you're the type of person to automatically jump to the conclusion of, oh, everything that I want to do is hard, all this stuff is too hard to complete, it's going to take a long time, it's going to be a real challenge. If that's the normal way you think, this video is for you. We're going to be talking about how the way you think and assume the level of difficulty can affect how you function and how easy things are or aren't for you. So I'm going to give you a different way to look at things and hopefully help you fix this way of thinking and transform it into a better way of thinking that's going to make things easier for you. So first I want to give you an example, and this example is exactly what inspired me to make this video. Around a year and a half ago, I was on a hike with some of my family members, and all of them were avid hikers. They hiked all the time, and I really did not. Like, I couldn't even remember the last time I went on like a real hike. And I had not been on this specific hike before that I was going on with them. My cousin took it upon herself to tell me how difficult this hike was. She said, yeah, like it just keeps going. Like it's like there's a lot of uphill, you know, it's gonna be a difficult hike. And so by the time we got to that last little thing before you get to the peak of the mountain, they were like, oh yeah, we're almost there. Like there's the top up there. I was like, I didn't believe them. I didn't believe them because I thought it was going to be harder than that. I was prepared. I was mentally prepared to do more. And so I was like, you guys are pranking me right now. There's no way that this is the end of the hike. I also forgot to mention that I was extra confused even more because not just that she was telling me the hike was going to be harder than I thought it was going to be, but also because she was telling me actively as we were going up the mountain, oh yeah, we have like 30 minutes left. Oh yeah, like there's still like a long way to go. So like by the time we got to the end of it, at the top, I was so confused because she's like, yeah, I was just telling you that so you could get to the top easier. I was like, oh my god. And she's like, yeah, now we only have to go downhill from here. I was like, wow. And so even when we got up to the top, they're like, oh yeah, this is the top. And I'm like, oh, like, but where's the rest of the hike? And they're like, it's the top of the mountain. I was like having such a hard time getting it through my head that it was that easy. And I did like stop a few times to breathe, which is fair. But if she hadn't said that, I would have had much harder of a time on that hike. And I just think it's so funny that she did that because she's never really done anything like that before. So it like really caught me off guard when she's like, oh yeah, like I just told you that to make it easier for you. I was like, wait a damn minute. And then I thought back, I'm like, oh yeah, when I used to go on hikes, I used to tell myself I was going downhill when I was going uphill to make it easier, and it automatically got easier. So from this story, I definitely learned that it is how you perceive a challenge, and how hard you tell yourself it's gonna be is how hard it's going to be, because that's what your brain is ready for. You've like told yourself your limit, you've already planned it all out in your head, how difficult it's gonna be. You don't need to do that. And I'm also not telling you to make something seem even harder than it actually is. That's just an example to show you how your brain can be manipulated by what somebody tells you or what you tell yourself. Next point I want to make is also, rather than jumping to jealousy when you see other people accomplishing things that you want to accomplish, which I always like to emphasize here, it is showing you it's possible for you too. And this is what happened with, I believe it was the 4-minute mile, the first person who broke the 4-minute mile in a run. And before then, nobody had broken the 4-minute mile. And then after it happened, there was multiple people that then broke the 4-minute mile because they saw it was possible for them too. So then they were then able to go do it themselves because they saw that it was possible for somebody else to do it. So they said, well, why can't I do it too? And then another example, which I always love to think about because it's incredible to me to think about how this is possible to achieve, but the stories where a mother will lift a car off a kid or lift a car off themselves, or that rock climber who lifted the boulder off of themselves, and that would be physically impossible for you to do until the circumstance presented itself when it was absolutely necessary for this person to do, and so they were able to do it. Our mind creates limitations. What we're told creates limitations. So if you believe that there's a logical line, if you believe that there's a certain limit, you're going to hold yourself to that certain limit. So allow yourself to expand your way of thinking and realize that there's a lot more possibilities out there, and maybe just because somebody hasn't done one thing yet, or there's not that many people who have done one certain thing yet, that doesn't mean that you can't achieve it. If you believe that you can and allow yourself to achieve it rather than convincing yourself it's too hard or it's not possible or whatever excuse you want to believe or whatever limiting beliefs that you've gained from other people around you and that you have set in your brain, you don't have to keep those things around. Another part of this example is if somebody believes they need a certain thing in order to achieve something, then you're gonna need that certain thing to achieve it because you're not gonna let it get through your head that you don't need that until you allow yourself to think, well, maybe I don't actually need a certain thing. For example, maybe you think you need to read a bunch of books or watch a bunch of videos in order to start a business, for example. And in reality, a lot of times, sometimes it can be helpful, but a lot of times it's just holding us back and we're just using it as an excuse to think, oh, well, maybe I'll feel more comfortable to start this if I have these things or if I have this knowledge. When in reality, you can do it along the way or you don't really need it at all. You'll figure it out as you go. But whatever the case is for you, if you have something that you're putting in the way of your goal, saying, I need to do this before I do this, unless it's something that really, really needs to be done, consider if it's actually just holding you back and is actually just an excuse you're making. I absolutely love the quote by Henry Ford that says, whether you believe you can or can't, you're right. Like, moment of silence. It's so true. It's like, it really is simple as that. But it seems so much more complicated in our heads. We make everything more complicated in our heads because you know what? It gives us like an excuse to stay in our safe zone, even if our safe zone isn't really actually that comfortable. You can achieve all these amazing things, all these amazing goals that you have for yourself. It is 100% possible for you to remove those barriers and get to whatever it is that you want to achieve. You just have to, again, get past those barriers that you're letting stop you or letting get in your way, or the level of difficulty that you put on it. And so my point is, you can do it. It's easy to make excuses. It's easy to get overwhelmed. It's easy to just say, oh, it's too hard and give up. But what if instead of saying, oh, it's too hard, say, this is so easy. This is so much easier than I thought, because you're telling your brain something new. And then it's going to start looking for evidence to prove this new case because you're building a new neural pathway. If you stick to it, then your brain will suddenly, instead of believing, oh, this is too hard, all these things are too hard, this is difficult, I don't like difficult things, I can't do it, you're gonna fix it and turn it into, I can do this is actually really easy. Oh, this is a lot easier than I thought. Wow, now I can do lots more hard things like this if I can do this, or hard things. Because in that case, you're saying that they're not hard. So that's the best way to intervene in your thought pattern that sticks with, oh, this is too hard, or you're making it harder in your mind, because it really does work like that. The harder you think something is going to be, the harder it seems, because your brain's like, oh yeah, you're right, it's difficult. But then if you say, oh, it's easy, your brain's like, oh, maybe you're right, it is kind of easy. But don't give up. That's like the biggest thing. Don't give up. Don't let yourself give up. But then if you are doing something and it seems like it's too hard, you're still probably throughout this process going to face things that seem like a real challenge. But if it starts to seem like too much of a challenge, you can just, first of all, refuse to give up, because when you stop giving up so easily, things seem less difficult, because you're like, I did make it through it, even though I thought I couldn't, even though I thought it was going to be too hard, I actually did do it. Like, I'm trying to learn a new language, and one day I just got really upset about it because I was like, I can't, like, this isn't making any sense. I closed out the app that I was using. I'm like, I can't do this. And then like a minute later, I'm like, wait a damn minute, what am I talking about? I'm making this more difficult for myself by quitting right now. And so I'm like, I'm going back to it and doing it again until I get it. And then I got mad again, closed out the app again, and I'm like, no, I'm trying to prove to myself that I can do this. So I went back in the app again, and then I did it even though it was hard. And even though I still didn't fully get it, I got through the lesson. And then I can go back and I can do it again if I need to do it again to help myself learn a little easier, but I got through it the first time, and that's what's important. So even if something seems hard in the moment, even if you get upset and frustrated about it, that's fine. Just work through it anyway, even if you have to throw a little temper tantrum here and there, because like, fair, come on. Anyway, I hope this was helpful, and I hope you're able to implement this into your life and that it is able to help you get things done a lot easier, because it's exhausting making life out to be the hardest thing ever. So choose to believe it's easy instead. And that'll set you on the right track to making life seem a lot easier. So thank you for watching. If you would like to see more videos like this, if you have any video suggestions, leave them below in the comments. But if you like self-improvement content and all of the stuff like that, please consider subscribing to my channel. I would love to have you here, and please give this video a like if you did enjoy watching this video. Thank you so much for watching this video, and I hope you have a great day. Bye!